Shabbat Shalom and welcome to my Sabbath reading. So as I usually do, although I forgot to do it the last time I read, I am going to quote the Shema that you can find in Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4. And it says, and I won't bother to look up where real quick, but anyway, it said, or Yeshua himself said that it is one of the primary things you should be doing. And it says you should recite this going through your doorways, when you lay down, when you get up, and teach it to your children. To sum it up, really. That's not, word for word, obviously, but just to sum it up. Anyway, the Shema. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our Elohim. Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh, your Elohim, with all of your heart, with all of your being, and with all of your might. Yeah. Alright, we left off right at Genesis 42. Moving right along, although not quickly enough in my opinion. We should do this every day, right? I do it as much as I possibly, well, probably not as much as I can, but I'm trying. I really am. So, trying to get to it every day, personally. And I'm a lot farther ahead than the readings I'm doing here when it comes to reading through the Old Testament and getting through the Torah and trying to remember it as much as I can. I'm one of those people who don't remember much of what they read. I have to reread things over and over to remember, so this helps me a lot to do it here also. But oddly enough, I can remember song lyrics from the 90s, when a song I haven't heard since the 90s, I can still remember the lyrics. So yeah, I'm one of those types. Anyway, we left off at chapter 42. If you remember, Joseph had been put in charge of the leader of Egypt's, basically the country, Mitzrayim, as it is referred to in my book. And Joseph was charged with storing 7 years worth of food so that he could have 7 years of food when the famine came. And he was interpreting Pharaoh's dreams. And that's what told Pharaoh that, yeah, that's what's going to happen, because the father had put those dreams, or gave those dreams to him as a message. And Joseph was able to interpret, understand through the will of the father, and inform Pharaoh what was about to happen. So now we're coming to 42, where they are right in the middle of the famine, and Joseph has already been selling food to the population. So anyway, let's get started. And when Jacob saw that there was grain in Mitzrayim, Jacob said to his sons, "Why do you look at each other?" And he said, "See, I have heard that there is grain in Mitzrayim. Go down to that place and buy for us there, and let us live and not die." And Joseph's 10 brothers went down to buy grain in Mitzrayim. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin, or Benjamin as it is pronounced here, with his brothers, for he said, lest some harm come to him. And the sons of Israel went to buy grain among those who journeyed for the scarcity of food that was in the land of Canaan, or Canaan as it is pronounced here, or spelled. And Joseph was the governor over all the land. He was the one who sold all the people of the land. Sold to all the people of the land, not sold them. He sold to them. Okay. Oh, now I lost my place. Anyway, verse 6. And Joseph's brothers came down and bowed down before him with their faces to the earth. Now, if you remember earlier in this story, Joseph had predicted that this would happen, or prophesied that this would happen through interpreting his own dreams, and that's one of the reasons why his brothers hated him and sold him into slavery. But anyway, verse 7. And Joseph saw his brothers and recognized them, but he acted as a stranger to them and spoke to them harshly, and said to them, "Where do you come from?" And they said, "From the land of Canaan, to buy food." So Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. And Joseph remembered the dreams which he had dreamed about them, and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the nakedness of the land." And they said to him, No, my master, but your servants have come to buy food. We all are one man's son. We are trustworthy. Your servants are not spies. But he said to them, No, but you have come to see the nakedness of the land. And they said, Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man in the land of Canaan. And see, the youngest is with our father today, and one is no more. And Joseph said to them, It is as I spoke to you, saying, You are spies. By this you shall be proven. By life of Pharaoh, you do not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Send one of you, and let him bring back your brother while you are kept in prison. So let your words be proven to see whether there is any truth in you, or else, by the life of Pharaoh, you are spies. And he put them all together in prison for 3 days. Now Joseph said to them the third day, Do this and live, for I fear Elohim. If you are trustworthy, let one of your brothers be confined to your prison house, and you bring grain for the scarcity of food of your houses, and bring your youngest brother to me, and let your words be confirmed, and you do not die. And so they did. And they said to each other, Truly we are guilty concerning our brother, for we saw the distress of his life when he pleaded with us, yet we did not listen. That is why this distress has come upon us. And Reuben answered them, saying, Did I not speak to you, saying, Do not sin against the boy? And you would not listen. And see, his blood is now required of us. And they did not know that Joseph understood them, for he spoke to them through an interpreter. And he turned himself away from them and wept, but came back to them and spoke to them. And he took Shimon from them and bound him before their eyes. And Joseph commanded, and they filled their sacks with grain, also to put back every man's silver in his sack, and to give them food for the journey. And thus it was done for them. He's being nice. Would you be so nice to your brother if he sold you into slavery? Just a thought. So they loaded their donkeys with the grain and went from there. And as one of them opened his sack to give his donkey fodder at the lodging place, he saw his silver, for it was in the mouth of the sack. And he said to his brother, My silver has been returned, and there it is in my sack. And their hearts sank when they were afraid, saying to each other, What is this that Elohim has done to us? So they came to Jacob their father in the land of Canaan, and reported to him all that befell them, saying, The master of the land, spoke to us harshly, and took us for spies of the land. But we said to him, We are trustworthy, we are not spies. We are 12 brothers, sons of our father, and one is no more, and the youngest is today with our father in the land of Canaan. And the master of the land, said to us, By this I know that you are trustworthy. Leave one of your brothers here with me, and take food for the scarcity of food of your households, and go, and bring your youngest brother to me. Then I know that you are not spies, but that you are trustworthy. I give your brother to you, and your move about in the land. And it came to be, as they emptied their sacks, and look, the bundle of each man's silver was in his sack. And when they and their father saw the bundles of silver, they were afraid. And Jacob their father said to them, You have bereaved me. Joseph is no more, and Shimon is no more. And you would take Benjamin, all of this against me? So Reuben spoke to his father, saying, Take the lives of my 2 sons if I do not bring him back to you. Put him in my hands, and I myself bring him back to you. But he said, My son is not going down with you, for his brother is dead, and he is left alone. If any harm should come to him along the way in which you go, then you would bring down my gray hair with sorrow to Sheol. Yeah, bring down his gray hair. That's an interesting term, isn't it? He's going to bring down his gray hair. How many times have my mother used to say to me that I was going to make her hair turn gray? Yeah. Has anyone else ever heard that? Have you ever said it to your children? I tell mine they're going to make my hair keep falling out. But anyway. Chapter 43. But the scarcity of food was severe in the land, and it came to be when they had eaten up all the grain which they had brought from Mitzrayim, that their father said to them, Go back, buy us a little food. But Yehudah spoke to him, saying, The man vehemently warned us, saying, You do not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you let our brother go with us, we go down and buy you food. But if you do not let him go, we do not go down, because the man said to us, You do not see my face unless your brother is with you. And Israel said, Why do you do this evil to me, to inform the man that you still had another brother? And they said, The man kept asking about us and our relatives, saying, Is your father still alive? Have you another brother? And we informed him according to those words. How could we know that he would say, Bring your brother down? And Yehudah said to Israel, his father, Send the boy with me, and let us arise and go, and live and not die. Both we and you also are little ones. I myself shall stand gratuitously for him. From my hand you are to require him. If I do not bring him back to you and set him before you, then let me bear the blame forever. For if we had not delayed, truly by now we could have returned this second time. And their father Israel said to them, If so, do this. Take some of the best fruit of the land in your vessels, and bring a present down for the man, a little balm and a little honey, spices and myrrh, nuts and almonds. Take double silver in your hand, and take back in your hand the silver that was returned in the mouth of your sacks. It could have been a mistake. And take your brother and arise, go back to the man. And El Shaddai give you composition, before the man. Compassion before the man. Wow, that word was broken up and it was hard to read. Compassion before the man. So he shall release your other brother and Benjamin. And I, if I am bereaved, I am bereaved. And the men took that present and Benjamin, and they took double the amount of silver in their hand, and arose and went down to Mitzrayim, and stood before Joseph. And Joseph saw Benjamin with them, and said to the one over his house, Bring the men home, and make a great slaughter, and prepare, for these men are to eat with me at noon. And the man did as Joseph said, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. And the men were afraid, because they were brought into Joseph's house. And they said, It is because of the silver which was put back into our sacks the first time, that we are brought in, to throw himself upon us and fall upon us, to take us as slaves, our donkeys too. It's pretty bad when they're going to take your donkeys too. So they came near the man over the house of Joseph, and spoke to him at the door of the house, and said, O my master, we indeed came down the first time to buy food. But it came to be, when we came to the lodging place, that we opened our sacks, and saw each man's silver in the mouth of his sack, our silver in its weight, and we have brought it back in our hand. And we have brought down other silver in our hand to buy food. We do not know who put the silver in our sacks. But he said, Peace be with you. Do not be afraid. Your Elohim and the Elohim of your father has given you treasure in your sacks. Your silver had come to me, and he brought Shimon out to them. And the man brought the men into Joseph's house, and gave them water, and they washed their feet. And he gave their donkeys fodder. And they made a present ready for Joseph coming at noon, for they heard that they were to eat there. And when Joseph came home, they brought him a present which was in their hand into the house, and bowed down before him to the earth. And he asked them about their welfare, and said, Is your father well? The old man whom you spoke, is he still alive? And they said, Your servant, our father, is in good health. He is still alive. And they bowed their heads down and did obedience. And he lifted his eyes and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son, and said, Is this your younger brother, of whom you spoke to me? And he said, Elohim, show favor to you, my son. And Joseph hurried, for his emotions were deeply moved toward his brother, and he looked for a place to weep, and went into his room and wept there. Then he washed his face and came out and controlled himself, and said, Serve the food. And they set him a place by himself, and them by themselves, and the Mitzraites who ate with them by themselves. For the Mitzraites could not eat food with the Hebrews, for that is an abomination to the Mitzraites. And they sat before him, the firstborn according to his birthright, and the youngest according to his youth. And the men looked at each other in astonishment. And he took portions to them from before him, but Benjamin's portion was 5 times as much as any of theirs. And they feasted, and they drank with him. I'm going to go ahead and continue with 44, because I like even numbers. And he commanded the one over his house, saying, Fill the men's sacks with food, as they are able to bear, and put each man's silver in the mouth of his sack. And put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the sack of the youngest, and the silver for his grain. And he did according to the word of Joseph, which he spoke. As soon as the morning was light, the men were sent away, they and their donkeys. And when they had gone out of the city, not having gone far, Joseph said to one over his house, Rise up, follow the men, and when you overtake them, say to them, Why have you repaid evil for good? Is this not the one from which my master drinks, and with which he indeed divines? You have done evil in what you have done. So he overtook them and spoke these words to them. And they said to him, Why does my master say these words? Far be it from us that your servants should do according to this word. He's playing tricks on him, isn't he? See, we brought back to you from the land of Canaan the silver which we had found in the mouth of our sacks. How then should we steal silver or gold from your master's house? With whomever of your servants is found, he shall die, and we shall become my master's slaves as well. And he said, Now also, let it be according to your words. He whom with it is found becomes my slave, and you are innocent. And they hurried, each man let down his sack to the ground, and each opened his sack. And he searched with the oldest first, and with the youngest last, and the cup was found in Benjamin's sack. And they tore their garments, and each man loaded his donkey and went back to the city. And Yehudah and his brothers came to Joseph's house, and he was still there. And when they fell before him on the ground, and Joseph said to them, What deed is this you have done? Did you not know that a man like me indeed divines? And Yehudah said, What do we say to my master? What do we speak? Or how do we clear ourselves? Elohim has found out the crookedness of your servants. See, we are my master's slaves, both we and he also, with whom the cup was found. But he said, Far be it from me to do this. The man in whose hands the cup was found, he becomes my slave, and you go up in peace to your father. And Yehudah came near to him and said, O my master, please let your servant speak a word in my master's hearing, and do not let your displeasure burn against your servant, for you are like Pharaoh. My master asked his servant, saying, Have you a father or a brother? And when he said to my master, We have a father, an old man, a young child of his old age, and his brother is dead, and he alone is left of his mother's children, and his father loves him. And you said your servants, Bring him down to me, and let me set my eyes on him. And when we said to my master, the boy is not able to leave his father, for if he leaves his father shall die. But you said to your servants, unless your youngest brother comes down with you, you do not see my face again. And it came to be, when we went up to your servant, my father, that we told him the words of my master. And our father said, go back and buy us a little food. But we said, we are not able to go down if our youngest brother is with us, then we shall go down, for we are not able to see the man's face unless our youngest brother is with us. They do a lot of repeating in this book, don't they? Then your servant, my father, said to us, You know that my wife bore me 2 sons, and the only one went out from me. And I said, truly, he is torn to pieces. Talking about Joseph here. And I have not seen him since. And if you take this one from me too, and harm comes to him, you shall bring down my gray hair with evil to Sheol. Sheol. And now, if I come to your servant, my father, and the boy is not with us, since his own life is bound up in his life, then it shall be, when he sees that the boy is not with us, that he shall die. So your servant shall bring down the gray hair of your servant, our father, with evil to Sheol. For your servant went with gruity, I don't know what that word is. I'm going to have to look that word up. For the boy to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I shall be a sinner before my father forever. And now, please, let your servant remain instead of the boy as a slave to my master, and let the boy go up with his brothers. For how could I go up to my father if the boy is not with me, lest I see the evil that would come upon my father? I'm going to go ahead with 45, just because I need a lot of reading today, and I like this story. And Joseph was unable to restrain himself before all those who stood by him, and he called out, have everyone go out from me. So no one stood with him while Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud, and the Mitzraites of the house of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers were unable to answer him, for they trembled before him. And Joseph said to his brothers, please come near me. And when they came near, he said, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold to Mitzrayim. And now do not be grieved nor displeased with yourselves, because you sold me here, for Elohim sent me before you to preserve life. For 2 years now the scarcity of food has been in the land, and there are still 5 years in which there is neither purging or harvesting, plogging, I don't know. And Elohim sent me before you to preserve you for a remnant in the earth, and to give life to you by a great escape. So then you did not send me here, but Elohim did. And he has sent me for a father to Pharaoh, and a master of all his house, and a ruler throughout all the land of Mitzrayim. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, thus your son Joseph, Elohim has made me master of all of Mitzrayim. Come down to me, do not delay. And you shall dwell in the land of Goshen, and be near to me, and you and your children, your children's children, your flocks and your herds, and all that you have. And I shall provide for you there, lest you and your household, and all that you have come to poverty, because 5 years of scarcity of food are still to come. And look, your eyes, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin, and see that it is my mouth that speaks to you. And you shall inform my father of all my esteem in Mitzrayim, and all of that you have seen, and you shall hurry and bring my father down here. And he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them, and after that his brothers spoke with him. And the report of it was heard by the house of Pharaoh, saying, the brothers of Joseph have come. And it was good in the eyes of Pharaoh, and in the eyes of his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, Say to your brothers, Do this, load your beasts and go, enter the land of Canaan, and take your father and your household, and come to me. And I give you the best of the land of Mitzrayim, and you eat the fat of the land. And you have been commanded to do this. Take wagons out of the land of Mitzrayim for your little ones and your wives, and you shall bring your father and come. And do not be concerned about your goods, for the best of all the land of Mitzrayim is yours. And the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the mouth of Pharaoh, and he gave them food for the journey. He gave to all of them, to each man, changes of garments, but to Benjamin he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. And he sent to his father this, 10 donkeys loaded with the best of Mitzrayim, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and food for his father for the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and they left. And he said to them, Do not quarrel along the way. And they went up out of Mitzrayim, and came to the land of Canaan to Jacob their father. And they told him, saying, Joseph is still alive, and he is governor over all the land of Mitzrayim. And Jacob's heart ceased, for he did not believe them. But when they spoke to him all the words which Joseph had spoken to them, and when he saw the wagons which Joseph had sent to transport him, the spirit of Jacob their father was revived. And Israel said, Enough, my son Joseph is still alive. Let me go and see him before I die. All right, I'm going to stop there. It is always a very good lesson to remember, even if your brothers or siblings are mean to you, you should not repay meanness with meanness. It's a very good lesson to learn for those of us who have mean brothers or stupid ones. I have a stupid one. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of lessons to be taken from that. And you could even look at it from a different standpoint. And even though the people in charge of our nation are mean to us, should we repay it by being mean back? It says many times in this book that the Father is a warrior. He is. And He will protect us. And He will give us the power to protect ourselves. So we have to trust Him that His will be done. Not our will, not the will of the government or the president, but ours. Through Him. His, not ours. Yeah, that's right, His. I was distracted. But anyway, that's not the point. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling now and go reflect and pray. I hope everyone has a very blessed day, a very restful Sabbath, and just remember who's in control, because that is what is most important. Alright guys, see you next time.